Archery is all about consistency. The information provided in this video series is not the only way of doing things, but it has proven successful for me and many other archers. Bow Only's mission is to give you information so that you can be the best shooter that you strive to be. In this video, I'm going to walk through the basics of archery form so that you can be more consistent and more accurate in your shot. This is after we've got your draw length set at least close, right? And after you've got a rough idea where your poundage needs to be. The first thing that we're going to do if you're shooting a wrist strap release is put the wrist strap on our wrist. We want to tighten it in the same holes every single time, and we want to have it as tight as we'd wear a normal watch. Okay? After that, we'll grab our bow, and the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a checklist. Okay? So the number one on the checklist is the stance. We want our feet roughly shoulder width apart, almost in a straight line, right towards the target. Okay? The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to load our arrow, and for most arrow rests, we're going to have it so that that off-color fletching is straight up on our rest and on our bowstring, and we'll knock it right between those two knots of our D-loop until it's clipped all the way onto the string. Okay? The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our release and we're going to hook it onto our D-loop and put all of our fingers behind the trigger. We're going to rest our bow on our front leg. The reason we're doing this is so we can set our grip with our left hand onto the bow riser itself. So the only part of the grip that you actually want touching your hand is going to be this fat part of your thumb right here, and you want it parallel with that lifeline of your hand. Okay? This does a couple different things. First of all, it keeps your arm out of the way of the path of the string, right? And it also makes it more consistent because it keeps that bow from twisting and torquing at full draw as soon as you come into that let off. Okay, so stance, load arrow, off color fletch up, hook our release on to the D-loop with our trigger facing out and our fingers behind the trigger. Okay, we rest that bow on our front leg, and what we're going to do is we spread out our thumb and index finger, place that right at the very top of the grip because that's the most consistent place. Push our thumb straight forward and take those 4 fingers on your hand and curl them up on the side of the grip, just like this. Okay? Those knuckles are at a 45-degree angle, right? And it gives us a gap between our string and our arm to keep from hitting it. Okay? So once we've got our grip set, remember, you've got to have that release to hold it, so you've got some pressure to set that grip in there. And once we've got that grip set, okay, we're going to pick out a spot on the target that we want to hit, right? So we're staring at the little tiny thing that we're aiming at, right? And we're going to raise the bow all the way up to the target and pull that elbow all the way back. Okay, so we're not drawing with our elbow down. We're going to raise our elbow up and pull it right across our face all the way back to full draw. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to bring that string lightly to the very tip of your nose. And when you do that, when you're shooting a wrist strap release, that pocket between your thumb and your index finger is going to line up with that thumb right underneath that jawline, just like that. And that pocket of that hand is going to line up where that jawline curves up right on your cheekbone. Okay, so it's a light touch, right? And that string's lightly touching the very tip of your nose. Okay? And what we're going to do when our hand is in that position and that string is lightly touching the tip of our nose, if our peep sight is in the correct position, we should be able to see right through it, and we should take that little circle from the peep sight and line that circle up with the circle of our sight housing. Okay? We want to make that eclipse with those 2 circles instead of trying to center that little tiny pin in the middle of this big circle of the peep sight. Okay? It's easier to center those 2 circles than to put that little dot in the middle of that peep sight. Okay? As we do that, we're going to stare down our target, right? Hook our finger on the trigger and relax all those fingers in that hand. Okay? We're not going to think to ourselves that that hand is holding that bow back at full draw. Okay? We want to relax that hand, relax that forearm, bicep, shoulder, and we want to think to ourselves that this elbow is pulling that bow back and holding that weight. When we think that in our heads, that engages those bigger muscles in our back, allows us to hold steadier, and it relaxes the rest of the smaller muscles that we don't need to execute the shot. Okay? So let me just walk through this all again, quick checklist. Number 1, stance. Number 2, we'll load our arrow, off-color fletching straight up. Hook our release with our trigger facing out. Put all your fingers behind the trigger to draw. Rest the bow on your front leg. We'll set the grip. Okay. I'm going to raise the bow up to the target. Notice my elbow comes up. Pull that elbow all the way back. Okay, and I'm going to pull that string right to the tip of my nose. Okay. When I do that, my hand lines up right in that pocket of my cheek, and I'm centering those two circles right on top of the peep sight. Hook my finger and slowly pull that elbow back. And that's how you shoot a bow. For more archery and bow hunting information or to contact us, please visit us at bowonlyoutdoors.com. I'm Josh Pflasterer with Bow Only Outdoors. Thanks for watching.